While we covered a lot in part 1 of the analysis, there were a few elements that we just didn't get to yet. And that's because these are some of the biggest mysteries in Sun and Moon to date. So now that the old analysis machine has had a chance to recharge, it's time to take a closer look at the new locations revealed and what can be done within them, the Aether Foundation, and the Ultra Beasts. What secrets and hidden details can we find? Let's take a look. Right off the bat, we can see that these trailers are filled with places we haven't seen before, at least not beyond the map. First up is this moment with Kukui. It's meant to show off the different times of day and how these scenes aren't locked to a specific time in either sun or moon. After all, you can probably only talk to Kukui here this one time. We're more interested in what Kukui is looking at with the player though. The two of them are next to a guardrail looking over at a snow-covered peak that's quite far away. There's only one snowy peak in Alola, though we don't think it's possible to get this viewing angle while on Ula Ula Island. Instead, we believe they're looking at it from the southern edge of Akala Island, maybe showing the trainer the next destination. This is emphasized in another trailer where this scene is played again, this time showing Kukui pointing toward the mountain top. We next see the time-lapse at a tropical setting with a rainbow above in the morning and at sunset. There's nothing else remarkable about this location with the exception of the nearby Magikarp boat as the camera shifts. And it's thanks to this boat that we believe we know where this takes place. As the trailer continues, we see the same Magikarp boat docked at this pier on Pony Island along with other Pokemon-shaped boats. But it's the Magikarp one that takes the player to the small island to the south of the main Pony Island, which is where the rainbow can be seen. At least, that's what makes the most sense. Returning to the pier, the other boats are shaped like twin Huntails, a Wailord, a Whiscash, and oddly enough, a Steelix. We get a better look at some of these boats during the overview trailer where we can see people and Pokemon on the pier. There's what we think is a captain with his arms crossed in front of the Magikarp boat, meaning you likely have to talk to him in order to travel to that small island. The Pokemon include Pelipper, Corsola, and Pyukumuku. This does make us wonder though if talking to the man near the Huntail boat will take us to a different location. Maybe it's the same for the Wailord boat as well, though we don't see anyone around it. But this next location is a big one. It shows the town south of the volcano on Akala Island. In the background we can see a large crowd forming around the stadium, which features a statue of Hariyama on the right, while there's a statue of Machamp on the left. Even amongst the crowd we can see a Machamp. Most importantly though is the fact that we can see a symbol on the front of the stadium which seems to match the logo for Battle Royal. It seems we were correct in thinking that this is where Battle Royals took place. The question is this where the mode is accessed for online battles, played in-game against NPCs, or both? It's difficult to say for sure, but the overview trailer does show the counter for Battle Royals, which seem to have plenty of options. Each clerk likely has a different function. Perhaps one is for single player against in-game trainers, another is for online, the third for local matches against friends, and the fourth could be a prize table where points are exchanged. Naturally, this is all guesswork as nothing around the counter seems to clarify what they could be. Another town on Akala Island that we get a better look at is the more traditional one near the graveyard. Just walking around the town we can see Delibird, Hypno, and Murkrow. The people all look pretty typical except for the Hula Girl on the left. But the interesting thing here is the town itself, or rather what can be bought within the town. The shops on the left include what seems to be a potion-like shop, a TM store, and a store with a sign showing a hammer. We have no idea what this last shop could indicate though. Will it be some kind of crafting or repair element to the game? It's incredibly hard to say. The right side shows a sign with scissors that likely provides haircuts to the player, allowing them to change its style and length like you could in Kalos. In part 1 of the analysis, we've already seen examples of this. Of course, this shop could be for Furfrou styling as well. Next up is a clothes store for the trainer, allowing them to change their style. Interestingly, a short clip from the overview trailer shows a closer view of this town, and the biggest clarification is with this clothes store. We can see that this shirt on the sign more closely resembles traditional Chinese shirts, which likely indicates the styles found within the store. But this likely also means that the town is Chinese-inspired in design, making Alola truly a hodgepodge of cultures. And the sheer number of shops could indicate that this town is something akin to the giant department stores of previous Pokemon games. We get one other glance at this town during the overview trailer thanks to an overhead shot. While there's nothing else to really note about the town, we do get a look at the ship that's docked at the pier. Interestingly, the design of this ship is the same one that can be seen near here on the map. The question is, what is this ship used for? One would assume that it takes people to Aether Paradise, but as we'll see later, the boat that's at the dock of the Foundation is closer to a speedboat. So maybe this ship is something closer to the SS Anne, in which players can challenge the trainers aboard it before it takes off. But we're not sure about that. There's likely some other purpose that we're just not seeing. The next town is the one featuring the Golden Tower on Ula Ula Island. But this time we have a slightly better look at the top of the tower and we can see what's potentially a statue on top. Could it be possible that this statue is of their guardian deity Pokémon? Unfortunately, it's difficult to see exactly, but we could see this being the case. Otherwise, we can see the main town as well as the trailer continues. Within the town, we can see another clothes shop on the right with a different shirt on its sign. This one is more Japanese in style, likely mimicking the Japanese-inspired look of this town. So it seems that each town has its own sense of fashion. On the left side is what we think could be a hair salon as the sign resembles a pair of scissors. The rest of the town features a Poliwhirl, Magnemite, and a pink Pokémon that's too small for us to identify clearly. Interestingly, the NPC near the Magnemite appears to be a police officer. Otherwise, the building at the back of the town has a roof that looks like it's shaped like Snorlax's head. Could that be the inspiration? And would that make it a hotel? We're not sure, but it is an intriguing connection. The next location is actually all around Pony Island. In one scene, we see more of the canyons, including the spot where we first saw the trainer riding a Stoutland away from the barren tree. That same tree can be seen below, but the nearby Pokemon is a Mudsdale this time around. The trainer is talking to someone, but we just can't make out who. The canyon also seems to be like one giant maze with cave entrances everywhere and likely interconnecting. There's another tree on Pony Island, though it's quite a bit bigger. In our first good look at it, we can see that it's obviously important, but we're not sure how. There are people standing around nearby, yet none of them look important. Could this really be the location of an island trial or a totem Pokemon? Either way, the final location on Pony Island is one where we can see the giant altar in the background where we'll eventually meet either Solgaleo or Lunala. The rest is just more barren canyon, which seems to be most of this island. Finally, for a change of pace, we have the snowy mountains on Ula Ula Island. In one scene, we can see the female trainer heading for the mountaintop, which actually contains a sun symbol on top. The question is, why? Could this indicate that it leads to the observatory? We're not sure why it would need that, but it's all odd nonetheless. And speaking of the observatory, we see Kukui waving nearby as he's standing near a satellite dish. The most likely place that this would occur is indeed the observatory, so it seems once again that you'll be meeting up with Kukui quite a lot throughout much of your island challenge. The same goes for Hau, who can be seen near the Pokemon Center in the Snowy Mountains. This could be the location of one of his rival battles. While the different locations shown in these trailers do provide some mystery, it's the Aether Foundation that's truly caught our attention. After all, they seem to be connected to every major reveal we'll talk about through the rest of this analysis. But what is the Aether Foundation? According to the Pokemon website, the Aether Foundation's goal is to care for Pokemon that have been hurt. They do this from their artificially created island in the center of Alola called Aether Paradise. It's there that they provide shelter for Pokemon while conducting various research projects. What has us curious though is the meaning behind the word ether. Ether can mean either pure fresh air or clear sky. In fact, the concept of ether ties in quite a bit with ancient mythology and alchemy. It was believed ether was the air breathed by the gods, making them separate from us. Later on, alchemy used it as a term to help explain celestial activity, often noting it as pure energy. Scientists at the time often believed that this energy is why light could travel through a vacuum. While all of these concepts could tie into Sun and Moon in some way, there is a sense of purity to all of them, which likely explains why all members of the Foundation wear mostly white clothes. The Foundation is led by Lusamine, who's described as its glamorous president. Throughout the trailers, she talks of being a mother to mistreated Pokemon, loving them even if they come from distant worlds. This strikes us as a curious line. Why does she say worlds and not regions? Could it be related to the Ultra Beasts in some way? We know Lusamine is there when UBO-1 makes its appearance. Could this take place after that, where she's determined to protect the mysterious Ultra Beast? Unfortunately, all we have are questions. The other scenes don't help clarify things either. In one, we see Hao's first meeting with Lusamine, where he comments how young she is. But as the trailer continues, he's freaking out about something while Lusamine says, "Poor thing." Could this be shortly after UBO-1's appearance as well? Does something happen to it after it comes through? Perhaps this pity is why she declares that she'll take care of Pokémon no matter what world they're from. The place where the trainer meets Lusamine is interesting as well. While it's white all over, there is plenty of evidence of plant life and even water. We're given an overhead view of the area, which shows that it's somewhat maze-like and more complex than it first appears. We can even see where Hao and the trainer are meeting Lusamine. And as they talk with her, the camera pans to show a Starmie and Corsola hanging out together in the water. It really does seem like a Pokemon preserve. Thanks to the map, we have a better idea of what we're looking at on Aether Paradise. This southern portion of the island is made up of a giant building, which we'll see a little more of soon enough. But this would seem to be the research portion of the paradise, easily twice the size of the mansion to the north. It's in the mansion that we believe the encounter with Lusamine takes place. It's quite curious how the place to care for Pokemon is smaller than the one built for research. Understandably, every fan is suspicious of the Aether Foundation, but are they truly the secret bad guys? Perhaps we can figure that out as the analysis continues. We next meet Faba, a branch chief of the Aether Foundation, in what seems to be a hotel lobby. After all, based on everything we see of Aether Paradise, this just doesn't match the style. While we've seen many hotels across Alola, this could be the one on Akala Island behind Dexio and Sinnoh. It's not a guarantee, of course, but it is the most likely answer. Faba himself is described as very proud of his position as branch chief and is never seen without his signature green sunglasses. Beyond that, we don't know much of his personality. In the hotel, Faba introduces the Aether Foundation and describes Aether Paradise to the trainer, claiming it's supposed to protect Pokémon. This would seem to be the first time the player has heard of the Foundation, which would make sense if it's in that hotel. After all, we know Team Skall has to be defeated in order to access the boat needed to leave Melemele Island. Introducing the good team soon after makes sense, as now players know what they're up against. But we still have questions about Faba. He seems to be the branch chief of some kind of research within the Foundation based on his design, but what could he be researching? Could it be related to Titanol or the Ultra Beast in some way? Faba is also the one that greets the trainer and Hao when they arrive on Aether Paradise. We can see the speedboat nearby and employees surrounding a Sudowoodo in the background. Based on the design of this room, it seems the dock for Aether Paradise is beneath the main building. Curiously though, Faba also mentions appealing to some kind of representative in order to protect Pokémon. However, we never see anything more from this suggestion. Instead, the focus shifts to Wick, the assistant branch chief, a caring person who's beloved by all Foundation employees. She further explains that they keep Pokémon that were targeted by Team Skall at the Paradise, while also supporting wild Pokémon that need extra protection. Since she's an assistant branch chief, we believe that she mainly helps Faba. This is evidenced in the Japanese trailer when she introduces herself in the same dock area. At least, we're pretty sure it's the same based on the blue lights along the rail. Faba likely hands off the trainer and Hao to her as she gives a tour of the Paradise. During this time, she talks about her belief that trainers are akin to Pokemon parents, caring for them and their needs. Behind her, we can see the mansion, which she'll likely take you to, explaining why she's seen with Lusamine in the forest room. A later scene looks to be when the player and Hao leaves as she wishes them good luck on their journey. And behind her, we can see Machamp likely helping with the crates. But we suspect that the Aether Paradise will be visited multiple times. One scene shows the main building from the outside at night. There we can see Hypno, Alolan Meowth, and Miltank. But more importantly, we see a young boy, which indicates that Aether Paradise is open to the public. This is supported by what we think is the Aether Foundation's front desk. It's not a guarantee, of course, but we can't imagine being personally guided every time we visit. Plus, it would be nice to explore the facility. The employees themselves simply state how the Foundation protects hurt Pokémon. We see an example of this in the trailer when Faba and one of the employees confront two Team Skall Grunts in order to save a Slowpoke. We think this takes place near the graveyard on Akala Island since we can see the edge of a headstone in the background. The Skall Grunts talk about how they want to sell the Slowpoke in order to get rich. Is this a callback to Team Rocket cutting off Slowpoke tails? And who are they selling Slowpoke to? For that matter, why does Team Skall need money? It all points to Team Skall being more of a nuisance than a real threat, especially compared to some of the previous evil teams. Either way, the player helps the Aether employee defeat them, and she thanks you for your help before wishing you luck on your journey. But we're not sure if the Aether Foundation will remain on your side throughout the game. In the overview trailer, there's a scene of two employees confronting a character with blue shoes, just like the male trainer. All they're saying is how they'll protect Pokémon, but what is the context of this statement? By this point, we'd expect the Aether Foundation to be aware of the trainer, so maybe it's possible that they'll become too insistent of protecting Pokémon, to the point where they target innocent trainers who they dub bad parents. But it's just too difficult to say for sure with so little information to go off of. And that brings us to Team Skall. While they aren't seen much in the trailers, mainly being talked about by the people and even Lily at one point, we do see more of the house that the trainer eventually confronts Guzma in. Unfortunately, there's no new evidence as to whether this is their base or they took it over from someone else and trashed it. However, there is another encounter with Guzma, though we're not sure where it could take place. He's standing in front of a tall white building with black pillars, and the only place that slightly resembles that is on the southern edge of Ula Ula Island. But what is this building for? We'll just have to wait and see, as most of the trailers focus on the newly introduced Team Skall enforcer, Gladion. He's described as a young man who lends his strength to the team, but we're not sure if he's actually part of Team Skall. Unlike the others, he doesn't have their emblem anywhere on his body. It's almost like he's a hired mercenary. When Gladion confronts the player in his first scene, he insists that the player battle him. We then see that he only has two Pokémon, like Guzma and Plumeria, though we know one of them is type Null thanks to the Japanese trailer. What we don't understand is why the battle against Gladion takes place in a kind of white void. What is the significance of this arena, and do battles against him always take place here? Gladion is fascinating though in that another scene shows him displaying a kind of concern for the player's Pokémon, stating that they'll just get hurt for no reason. He believes in his strength that much. Another curious line is when he talks about something being noisy. This seems to be on Ula Ula Island near the Slacking Motel. But who's being noisy? Could this be a sign that he's getting fed up with Team Skall as his attention is drawn toward the trainer? After all, if he puts so much value in strength, being beaten by the player is sure to rattle his beliefs like many rivals before. In fact, we think he may be a new kind of rival that harkens back to the early games of Pokémon. But many suspect that Gladion has other secrets, and it's not hard to see why. His blonde hair and green eyes are quite similar to Lusamine, making it seem as if the two are related. In fact, because of his line where he worries about hurting the trainer's Pokémon for no reason, we think it's possible that he was once part of the Aether Foundation. Helping Team Skall is almost an act of rebellion because of something he didn't agree with. Again, there's no solid proof of any of this, but the pieces do line up quite well. And that's without bringing in the Ultra Beasts. The thing is, nobody in Alola knows that much about these new creatures. All the Pokémon website says is that they possess mighty powers and could pose a threat to both humans and Pokémon, making them widely feared. But the Aether Foundation is researching them in the hopes of achieving a greater understanding. So far we only know of 3, though there's said to be more beyond that. The first one introduced is UB-01, though its codename is still a secret. Its body is composed of a glass-like substance, though it's constantly changing shapes, never settling on one. Evidence of a survival instinct has been observed in UB-01, though no one knows if it has a will or emotions. Stranger still is that its movements resemble those of a young girl, which is where the true mystery of the Ultra Beasts come in. It's not hard to notice the uncanny resemblance between UB-01 and Lily. Its head looks like her hat, and the many limbs match her hair, including her bangs, and her legs. This makes it seem like Lily has some connection to UB-01, but we don't know what that is. Could Lily be able to somehow transform into UB-01, or is there some kind of bond there that will be revealed later? It's hard to say for sure since we don't even know if Ultra Beasts are a kind of Pokémon. After all, no types or abilities are provided at all. The only other instance we see of UB01 is during the meeting with Lusamine when it appears from a portal. It doesn't seem to be part of any kind of plan. Lusamine is just as shocked as the rest. So what does this appearance mean? After all, it came through a portal, perhaps from another world. Why did UB01 appear then and there? And the same question can be applied to UB02. Unlike UB01 though, UB02 is different depending on the version. In Sun, UB02 is codenamed Absorption, and its entire body is covered with powerful muscles. The full force of a single punch would be off the charts though, and even then, the extent of its power is unknown. On top of this, its long mouth is said to be harder than diamonds and may use it to attack as well. Meanwhile, Pokemon Moon's UB02 is codenamed Beauty. It has narrow, graceful legs which allow it to accelerate with so much explosive speed that it could dodge lightning. In addition, any Pokemon that sees Beauty, regardless of its gender, will immediately become infatuated with it and lose the will to battle. Nobody really knows why this happens, whether it's a pheromone or simply a hypnotic effect. But the simple fact that it has this effect could indicate that the Ultra Beasts will be fought at some point. At the very least, we see them facing off against Hala and Tapu Koko for some reason. Both appear in the sky from the same kind of portal as UB01 and land in front of Hala before letting out a giant roar, indicating that they're preparing to attack. It's then that Tapu Koko appears to protect Hala, finally giving us context for this scene of the two of them together. It all ends with Tapu Koko and the Ultra Beast running toward each other. This is an exciting scene to be sure, but we're curious where our trainer is. It seems as if the player isn't involved at all. Could it be that we're trapped on the other side, signified by the broken bridge we pointed out before in Moon? Unfortunately, we're left in the dark, but it seems plausible. Like UB01, both UB02s resemble characters. Beauty resembles Lusamine, while Gladion's clothes and focus on strength could tie him to Absorption. It's also unlikely that it's just a coincidence that Lily, Lusamine, and Gladion all look alike. They seem to be part of the same family. But why do they have an Ultra Beast connection? Is it something hereditary? And if they are Pokemon themselves, then why does Gladion have Pokemon? For now, the Ultra Beasts have to remain a mystery, but we're not sure if they're necessarily bad. At one point in the overview trailer, Hal mentions the Ultra Beast with a smile on his face. Could the goal be to protect them from whatever kind of force is trying to catch the Ultra Beasts as they lash out at everything around them? The Aether Foundation is likely at the center of all of this, and it seems probable that the Foundation will actually be the real villains that have to be defeated. Team Skall just seems too small to be a viable threat. But these questions could have answers in the near future. After all, more Pokemon Sun and Moon information is on the way on September 20th, and we'll be there to cover it. Of course, if we missed anything, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to Game Explained for more on Pokemon and other things gaming.